What is going on, my fellow nerds? OperatorOtter here, and we're going to talk about version 2 of the build. So let's get right into it. All right, so what were the issues with version 1? So with version 1, the two main issues that we had were, number one, the feast heart is not working the way that we want it. So Macro Bioboy did a fantastic coverage on this. If you haven't checked him out already, check out his video right here. Awesome content creator, great guy, great videos. Give him some love, go support him. He explains how Feast is not working the way it's supposed to. Feast is supposed to be a multiplicative heart, and it's not. It's not doing that. It's doing completely different things, and it's not multiplying our damage, and it feels super bad for Necros, so we can't really realistically use it. Barber is pretty much the best thing possible because it's already giving a already powerful build with our DPS quadratic scaling, which is basically taking our damage and throwing it like a cow over the moon. So that's why we're going to use that. And of course, the second issue being Barber. I didn't get Barber, right? Barber was not one of the ones that I got when I was farming Wrathful Hearts. The first one I got was Feast, and that was the one that looked super strong at the time. So I just slammed it on and went out with the build and called it good, right? And then everyone was talking about Barber and the Barber train, and so I went out, I got Barber, I tried it, and yeah, it's by far the best, like hands down, right? Like quadratic scaling on this build is already like super strong. But there are some really weird things that are going on with Barber and its interactions with the build, and why it basically took version 1 and shut it down and basically said it's not working anymore. So let's talk about it, right? First thing is the aspect of the barrier, right? The shielding storm aspect. Essentially what it's saying is that when Bone Storm deals damage, you're gonna get a shield. But the thing with Barber is that it's storing damage, and so it doesn't actually say that you've dealt damage, and it doesn't give you the barrier. So as you can see here, I have Barber on, I have the shielding aspect on, and you'll see the barrier kind of pop up a little bit when it comes up, and that's when Barber deals its actual damage. So when Barber deals damage, it's dealing damage in the form of my Bone Storm, and it will give me a barrier, but it's not a very large barrier, and it only gives me it once things die or once Barber has done damage. So you can see here, I'm not really getting a barrier, and I'm dying very quickly, the poison gets me, and I'm dead. So that feels bad. But if I take Barber off and we go back into the exact same scenario, you can see here, I'll walk into this enemy, I'll cast Bone Storm, and now look at me. I'm invincible. I'm gonna die, right? There's just nothing that can touch me. And so in that aspect, that's why that was so strong in version 1, but because Barber is literally just that powerful, we cannot sacrifice taking off Barber and using something else for the sake of being indestructible, because Barber is just legitimately giving us that much damage. So we have to kind of live with that. So we're gonna have to make adjustments there. The second thing that it's kind of messing with is Lucky Hit. So Lucky Hit, it's kind of picking and choosing which ones are working or which ones aren't. Someone might have to come in and correct this. I've done some testing on this. I'm going to show you in the video like what I mean by the testing. So Lucky Hit states that when you deal damage, you have a chance to do a Lucky Hit. And so the theory here is like, okay, well, in order for Barber to know or to calculate the damage that I'm going to deal, I have to already deal damage to it. So it has to calculate that I've done damage, right? And therefore it has to give me a Lucky Hit because I'm dealing damage. So it has to be a Lucky Hit, right? Yes and no. It is, but it isn't working that way. So here's one, right? Hewed Flesh. So Hewed Flesh is a Lucky Hit. It's a 12% chance to proc, 24 against bosses. That's fantastic. And you'll see as I come up against Lilith, if you see the corpse tendrils spawn from my sacrilegious heart, then you can see, yeah, I got a corpse, because the only way that corpse tendril can work is if there's a corpse. So as you can see, I'm attacking Lilith. I haven't dealt any damage to her yet, and there's the corpse. And so before I've dealt damage, the corpse has spawned. So Lucky Hit's working there. The other one that it's working with is Lidless. So Lidless states that when I have a Bone Storm active, I have a chance to spawn a Bone Storm on an unaffected enemy. And as you can see here, I'm dealing damage to Lilith. I haven't dealt any damage to her yet. Barber has not gone off, and there's the storm, right? So Lucky Hit is working with the Bone Storm proccing of Lidless. It's also working with Hewed Flesh. But now what we want to do is we want to test it with aspect of exposed flesh and the energy restore on our shield and our gloves. And it's not really working. So two things are, like, I got 3 videos here, right? If you saw the video here about me talking about Lucky Hit chance, I'm running Lucky Hit chance in my gloves and the energy restore in my gloves. I'm running a 57.5% base Lucky Hit chance. So based off of that, I should have around a 30% chance every Bone Spear cast to get one of those events to incur, whether it be aspect of exposed flesh or the energy restore. And as you can see, I'm putting in, I don't know, but like 10 to 15 attacks. I'm not like necessarily counting, but I have 3 videos of me doing this, and not a single instance occurs, not one. And so it's like, yikes. Now, I'm assuming that it will work in the sense that if I deal damage and they explode and the barber deals damage to things, then maybe I will have a chance of it proccing, but it's just not necessary at that point because I don't need to get essence back when things die. When things die, I'm going to get essence back on essence on kill, and my bone storms are going to consume the corpses for me with my Grim Harvest and just give me the essence back. So I don't need lucky hit for them dying. That doesn't make any sense. So we're going to make some changes on that one as well. So the two changes that we're really making here is instead of running Shielding Storm aspect, all we're going to do is we're going to run aspect of might. This is going to allow us to use a basic ability and we get 20% damage reduction. It's not as great as the Shielding Storm, feels bad. It would be super OP if we did it. I would be super happy with it, but it's just what we got to run with because realistically, if we were able to have Shielding Storm work with Barber, I just don't realistically see many other builds being able to even come close and competing with this class in terms of its juggernaut bullshit levels of damage and tankiness. If that was the case, this build would just run over everything and literally wouldn't give a damn about anything. It'd be super fun, it'd be great, but I think that's just Blizzard's way of trying to keep things in balance, I guess. I don't know. It's their choice. It's a non-competitive game. I don't really see the reason necessarily for nerfing things like that, but that's their choice. It's their game, so we're just going to roll with it. The second change that we're going to make is that our gloves, we're going to take off lucky hit chance and the energy restore. We're going to replace it with attack speed and crit damage because if I can't get lucky hit to work, then I'm just going to kill things faster and I'm going to hit things harder. Cool. And then for aspects of exposed flesh, we're just going to replace that with accelerating aspects so we attack even faster. So with Reap being that if we kill a target within 2 seconds that's affected by Reap, we get 30% attack speed, the accelerating aspect and the attack speed in the gloves, we're just going to give ourselves 75% more attack speed than we would in like the base build. And we're just going to go out and be a GAU 8 Avenger off of an A10 Warthog and just like shoot like a machine gun and just fire bone spears down at maximum velocity. It's going to be fun. It's a good time. So that's kind of what we're doing there. Now, the reason I feel like this build can really compete with a two-hander in terms of the damage through a dungeon, at least, I don't think it can compete against Lilith. Even though I was able to kill Lilith very fast here, I'm more than certain a two-hander can do a lot more damage against Lilith. But through a dungeon, I do feel that this build can compete really, really strongly in the damage aspect. Not DPS, not anything like that. It's a little bit more tanky than the two-hander, and it has a little bit more essence, regen, and utility or resource utility management than the two-hander does. But in terms of damage, I feel like it can really compete. And the reason being is you just permanently have Flesh Eater up the entire time. And Flesh Eater is doing some wacky things. Very, very wacky. It doesn't seem like it's only giving us a 40% damage. Now, I'm not for sure on this. I haven't done like in very hardcore testing on this, so don't take my word for it. This is just experience and the fact that like I was against Lilith and I've been running this build for hours and hours and hours and through so many. But this is what I've noticed about like Flesh Eater proccing is like it's like taking your damage and amplifying it on your initial bone storm or bone spear. And so like if you dealt 1,000,000, it hits the target for 1.4, and then it's like it double dips and then like gets even stronger inside the Barber explosion. And so like the Barber explosion amplifies that 1.4 by another 60%, and then by that 60% when it explodes, it amplifies by another 40% with Flesh Eater. It's like double dipping and doing some really nutty things. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm looking at things wrong, but that's really ridiculous. So being able to permanently keep up Flesh Eater through the entire dungeon is just so strong, because every single time I kill an enemy, like I have a very high chance I'm going to spawn a Bone Storm, and that Bone Storm is just going to sit there and instantly suck up all of the corpses, and poof, I have Flesh Eater up. So like I just have Flesh Eater the entire way through the entire dungeon, which just allows me to have insane scaling with a one-hander. It just allows me to hit so hard on everything. It's fantastic. So that's why I think that this is going to be very competitive in terms of just damage, like not tankiness or speed or anything like that, but just damage overall. I feel like it can compete with two-handers very, very well. Moving on from that, we're going to talk about patch 1.1.1 because there can be changes that can come out to change things, and specifically the only real big change that I'm seeing that can happen more realistically is going to be the change that they said that what was it? Let me see here real quick. Here it is. It says, fixed an issue where effects that build up from dealing damage, such as Rogue's Inner Sight, wouldn't properly build up while the effect from Barber Malignant Heart was active. I wish I knew how to read Blizzard text correctly, but they've proven themselves multiple times that, like, when we commonsensically read things, it doesn't work out that way, so I'm just not going to take their word for it at this point. But it sounds like all it's saying is, like, damage isn't building correctly in Barber, and so they're just going to fix it so that damage builds correctly now, I guess. I don't know. But if they made it, if there's some weird hidden super, I don't know, like cryptic text in there that what they're saying is like, hey, when Bone Storm's up and it's dealing damage to Barber, it's actually now going to calculate that you're dealing damage with the Bone Storm, and that's going to allow your aspect of Shielding Storm to work. If that happens, I don't think there's anything that's going to stop this. At that point, there's nothing that can kill you. No explosion, no, unless you get hit by 2 explosions, but no explosion, no hit, no one hit. There's nothing in the game that's going to be able to do anything to you. You're just going to instantly restore your barrier right back up to full power the entire time. And you're just going to be an absolute monstrosity of a juggernaut going through like version 1 was. You're just not going to die. There's just nothing that can be a threat to you. And if that's the case with the already insane intrinsic damage that you have with quadratic scaling on Barber, I don't know. Like at that point, the game's over. Like we just beat the game. There's nothing that can happen, and I hope that happens because I think that this game doesn't have a leaderboard. There's no competitiveness necessarily to it. The game it doesn't really reward group play. It's more of like it's like the most single player MMO thing. It's not even an MMO. It's the most single player online game I've really played, other than like doing the carries and stuff. It just, why wouldn't you allow super OP things like that to happen? There's no real competitive thing that's going on here. So I don't know. That's their choice. Blizzard makes the choices they do, and it's still a great game, so I'm going to roll with it whatever way. But that's that. So from here, down in the description below, we're going to have the builds for the Nightmare version and the Lilith Kill version. I'm going to show you the T100 clear here. It's a full clear with all 4 people. I do it in 3 minutes and 22 seconds or something like that. And you can go ahead and see how it's doing a T100 full party clear. And then I also have a Lilith Kill video where I kill Lilith pretty damn fast. I've done a lot of different strategies with what you can do in this. This just feels to be the most consistent way to kill her. I did this kill 6 times literally in a row just to really prove its consistency. So that's why my elixir is a little like spent, is because I wanted to see the consistency of the kills, and I just got like 6 in a row doing it this way. So yeah, this just seems to be the best way to do the Lilith Kill. For me personally, maybe there's other strats out there. If you do, put it in the comments below. But honestly, that's all I got for you. Enjoy version 2.0. We'll see if there's any changes that come out in the next patch that comes out. If they do, I'll update the build accordingly. Thank you for all your support. Check me out at Twitch to if you have any questions or anything. I'm usually doing carry runs. I usually just do some free carry runs too. So if you want to come on in and do some Diablo Jeopardy and participate and ask me any questions, I love talking to you guys. Have yourselves a wonderful day. That's all I got. OperatorOtter out.